All right.
Hey everybody, this is Erman Baradi. Thank you so much. It is August 26th. For those who keep track, I've been doing a lot of interviews in the last few months that have gotten to the heads of my friends, of new friends, people who I find interesting, and I get to know their backgrounds, but also their political beliefs and how they got there, because we are in a very divisive time. It lacks conversation. I think this time lacks conversation, honest conversations with people you may disagree with and people you agree with, and you still I think it's still worth having healthy conversation with the people. So today we have Siaka Masakwe, aka Chief and the Americano on Instagram. Welcome,
And
sir. Good
Twitter.
to see you. And Twitter.
Hey.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Hey guys, how you doing?
I want to reach out to you because a month ago, I think it was a month ago, I saw you on a video that went. I won't say viral, but it went around. It had its rounds. It was you at the corner of Hollywood and Vine,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
it was a interview during, I think it was Save the Children March, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, well, it was like a minute long only, but the content there was like you spoke, I think, volumes that you said stuff that a lot of people can relate to. And it was regarding Biden and Trump and why you were voting one over the other, and it mirrors a lot of things that a lot of people that I know feel.
Mm,
And you live in LA, you're in entertainment,
yeah.
um, and you're black. However, you don't vote Democratic anymore, at least, or
No,
for this,
not anymore.
yeah, for
No.
this particular election. So those three ingredients, people are like, wait, your color,
Yeah.
your industry,
Yeah.
and your city. What
Yeah.
are you doing supporting Trump? So people can ask that. So before we get into all of that,
Okay.
I know you're about to dive in there. Before we get
Yeah.
into
I was
that,
like,
before we get into that, I'd love to know your background, how you got started in the entertainment industry, if you want to talk about it. But also, because a lot of the stuff I think lends to how you see things as an adult, right? Your
yeah.
upbringing. Fun to note. I was gonna say this on your behalf, but fun to note that Siaka actually phoned for Obama back in '08. So he is a
Yeah.
lifelong Democrat now,
Yeah.
sees things in a conservative way. Um, I think you're per. I think it's safe to say you're a per politician kind of guy. It's just because someone's Republican or conservative doesn't mean you're gonna vote for them. It just depends
Yes.
on that
Yes.
person. So
I think that, yes, I think that's one of my biggest things. And first of all, thank you for reaching out to talk. I remember, I think it was about a month ago, just kind of when I started looking into certain things and trying to reach out to the web and figure out kind of what's going on from a conservative standpoint. Um, just to see you having a conversation with people, it was like, whoa, you don't see that. So when you reached out, I was like, oh shit, I thought to myself, it'd be cool to be on your show. So this is great.
there you go.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's very important. Like number one, I find myself as someone like I'm about trying to truly empower the individual to, as I like to call it, to fish, right? And it's like what I look for now is like, and I, like you said, I made phone calls for Obama back in 2008, me and my girlfriend at the time. I grew up in North Shore of Chicago, super, super progressive space. And all, I mean, I was the MC at our high school in 1998. Our high school's like anti-violence march in our town. Like this shit is like, I, I got all the stuff of, kind of how I used to be liberal to a certain extent. And like, now hitting to a point where, older in life and I'm starting to see a lot of the issues that I dealt with, like came from the way that I thought the world was and in the way that I was taught. Right. So I look at things as I'm huge into history, and I look at things like what was the core, like kind of foundation of this country. And it was like, you have a choice to be whoever you want, whenever you want. And that also means your political beliefs. So as I went through my life here, 15, almost 16 years in LA, and I've been what was it, on welfare twice. I've, as growing up just a black man in this country, I've been in jail 5 times, all of it my fault. DUIs, drinking, and that was my problem. An alcoholic for a long time. Had to go and get help because that was the only way I was going to get over my problems. Thank God. And then I've been evicted from 2 different places here, and like look like I have no money, almost to the point of where I was literally leaving this state. going to leave my dream of being an actor. But all that showed me, and especially when I went to jail here in LA County, it showed me something that didn't make sense from the narrative that I had been taught to believe. And like to see that and to be like, when I took a step back and see like most of these issues, if not all of the issues that I faced were of my doing, it really started to like, it started to mess with me, right? Because like I was taught something different. And one of the hardest things I ever felt was like when at 24, working in Chicago, and kind of the story of what I was told about Chicago and that Midwestern space of how we're like, yeah, you know, racism is not a thing here. And then to grow up and you're 24, now you're out in that real world, being like, this is one of the most racist cities in the country. Holy crap. Like people stay in their groups, man, you know? And I'm like, oh, okay, wow, that kind of, then you start feeling like you've been lied to, but then you still keep seeing the same things, whether it's another black man shot on TV, and you keep seeing these things. And for me, like what really turned it for me was two things. Number one, in the first 2 years, Obama was Obama was he was president. They had the House and the Senate, right? And he signed that affordable or not, that fair payment act, right? And it was a big thing about the wage gap and everything like that, and which is a lot of people don't know, like when executive orders, or a lot of them are just laws that are already in place. It's not something new. So to me, that, and then we know the Fair Pay Act has already been in law. So when I knew, I'm like, wait a minute, why are you, that's just a show, like that doesn't really do
Okay.
anything except for set a narrative, right? Because all they kept saying over and over was the pay gap, pay gap, pay gap, and saying, you know, 70 cents to a dollar. And there's a lot of things that weren't, you know, kind of coming into play, whether you talk about like choice in job, like time we're put in, all these different things that are just, to me, not even a, it's not a side thing, it's just, to me, it's like, that doesn't that factor into when we look at like who's doing what and how we pay people. And so he did that. And I was like, yeah, I remember. I'm thinking, you know, you got to do something on healthcare, man. You got both the House and Senate. What's going on? And then by the end of that first year, I was like, oh, okay, I see what it is. He's a politician. I was like, he's going to wait. And then you know, Republicans going to take the House or the Senate, and then he's going to blame it on the Republicans. And that's exactly what happened. And yeah, and then we got this bill that has been touted from every media outlet as something like revolutionarily um, life changing in a positive way for people. While at the same time, people lost their doctors, their premiums doubled, some tripled, but you never heard anything like that. And I know, you know, I have a lot of friends that because of a traveling job that I ended up getting, met a lot of conservatives, and are, you know, a lot of people who were like, these are the things that are happening to me. And these are the stories that I'm watching, you know, these channels that I normally watch, CNN, MSNBC, and I'm like, how come they ain't talk? If like, again, they always talk about trying to get the voice of the voiceless and people who are hurting, and then I'm not hearing these, and then at the same time, if I turn to Fox News, if I turn, you know, a conservative website, all of a sudden I'm seeing these numbers, and I'm like, huh, that's weird. Like, but this side that I grew up in saying they're about the people, but they're not even talking about this, you know, these factors and these individuals that are losing doctors, that are losing, like, what, something is wrong there, but then at the same time saying like we're on the right path. And then the second thing was Rahm Emanuel, you know, Obama's chief of staff for his election, basically got handed Chicago. This guy never lived in Chicago and became the mayor of Chicago. His first 6 months, he shut down 60 schools, 50 schools in the south side of Chicago. No one yet, nothing. No one heard anything. I saw it in the news because I like, luckily, what I like to do is with Flipboard, I like to put everything on there. So like I can just flip through and see everything. And I saw that and I was like, whoa. And one of the things I was taught back in junior high is how people get caught up in gangs is when kids have nothing to do, especially young boys.
Right. Mm-hmm.
No
Yep.
options, you know, like no after school programs. When like the big brother, big sister became big, or the boys and girls clubs and like all these after school programs started becoming big. We don't really have those much anymore, so go figure. So he did that in that first 6 months he was in. that following summer, Chicago was the murder capital of the country. It had more murders than New York and LA combined. And as we've seen, it's just continued to get worse. So,
And it's still up
oh
there.
yeah, still up there. In the month of July alone, we lost 38 kids, all under the age of 18. So when we talk about, BLM and all the things they're pushing, it's like, where are there articles about these children that were just 38? Like that's just, I mean, right now, even with the shooting that happened in Wisconsin, and I'm seeing like the, NBA, who we can get into that later, but they stopped playing games because of the shooting. And I'm like, that's why you stop? Not for any of those children. I had my mom lives in the South Shore of Chicago, a 10-month-old, two Mondays ago, shot in the face.
I didn't know about that.
Because those lives don't matter. They pick and choose which lives matter, which Black lives matter. And that's the thing that pisses me off, because, and people, they've gotten everyone so turned up, and most people don't even understand their history, that like they can toss out one name and be like, this is the thing we're going for. It's like, and the reason why I was even at the Save the Children's March, because it hit me, it dawned on me when I was there. I'm 40 years old and I don't care about giving up my age, right? But
No, dude, you look like you're 25. Don't get me started.
man, my knees don't feel it. So like, but like I was there and I was in this thing and it felt like just so real. And it was like, I look around and I'm seeing like, it wasn't like a Trump thing or anything. And yeah, there was Trump supporters there. It wasn't like they tried demonizing like a cute thing. And there were some cute people, but what I saw were families and like mothers, daughters, fathers, Black, white, Asian, Hispanic, tattooed, like buttoned up, like maybe left, maybe right, like all walking down the street in the middle of Hollywood. In the middle of, we know, man, everyone knows what Hollywood's about. In the middle of this place. And we go in front of CNN, go into CNN, they don't, not a word on TV about it. And we're in the entertainment capital of the world at this point. And I thought to myself, we march for what a perceived oppression of, minorities. We march for perceived oppression of women. When in your lifetime or my lifetime have we seen us march for the only group that can't physically and verbally defend themselves? So to me, culturally, if we're not defending children first, without having to demonize those that want to defend children, everything else is fake.
That's a good point, because people on my page, my Instagram, a lot of them were talking about how people have demonized them because it's like they're talking about trafficking, and they're saying that their friends are saying, oh, you talking about trafficking takes away from the other stuff, the other things that are talked about today, socially. So it's kind of like people are saying, if you believe in this, then you don't believe in that, and that kind of.
Well, that's right there is the inherent problem of where the left has gone, in my opinion, is that it's my way or the highway, and whose way? Because all of it really comes down from somebody on TV. Most people can't really tell you like, yeah, I believe this because I went and saw how it works. No, it's because that person with the pretty white teeth in the industry that we're in says this, that, or the other in defense of what has already still been going on. And everyone goes, oh yeah, he's right, or she's right. And it's like, let's stop and really think about it. I saw watching the DNC and Billie Eilish is up there talking, and I'm watching this person. I'm like, what? Like, not to take away, like, I'm not saying she knows or doesn't know, but even just the presentation was like, do you even know what you're talking? Like, at least come off as like, you know what you're talking about. Like, if you're going to put these people out there like that, and I'm sitting to myself, not saying somebody can't read and know, but it's like, we know as human beings when someone, like, you can feel someone knows what they're talking about. And it just felt like it was a splash thing. And I'm like, so what is this? Because this whole time we're watching this, again, I can bring up those 36 kids, but the Wikipedia has the George Floyd's protest / riots is 30 people being killed, but that's not even true, man. Like where I'm from in Chicago, you have like that South Shore and the West Side is what got burned down a lot. And I listened to that whole 2-hour and 30-minute conversation with the older men and women to the mayor of Chicago. And I listened to them cry because they're saying Like, how are these people going to get food? Why should these businesses come back? And these are a bunch of black people and brown people. So do their lives don't matter? Their starvations don't matter? Their lack of medicine because we burn it down because we're mad, that doesn't matter? The amount of just devastation and small business owners, like I'm sorry, but they're talking in a way where it's what we're out there doing is only putting more power into the hands of the people that they've taught you to hate, who are supposedly the 1%, because who has the money now to do anything? Amazon, Target, Walmart, they balled out during the shutdown. The same people that everyone goes, oh, we hate billionaires. Really? We just gave them parts of neighborhoods because no one else will invest there. And then who are they going to give the better deal to? The poor black or brown people? Probably not. And so it's like, what are we really doing? We're cutting off our nose to spite our face, as my mom would say. And it's frustrating, man. It's frustrating.
Yeah, and it's interesting you say that, because this happened at the start of the riots in June. There was, oh man, who was it? I can't remember who it was, but Hollywood, obviously, they bailed some people out. They bailed some looters and rioters out, and protesters.
They started a fund. They started a fund to bail people out.
But who was it that raised money for the black business that burned? It was black conservatives on Twitter and Instagram. So that was very interesting to note that.
Man, I say this to my mom, and she's been a lifelong Democrat as well, and I just look at it, man, and it's the thing I ask people. I'm like, or I tell people, I'm like, they don't care about people, man. They just care about power, and they have the apparatus. Shit, I'm in it. I see it. They have the apparatus to sell you a story, but if they cared about people, you're like, we can just drive down to Skid Row. That's it. If you cared about people, about Black lives, let's just go to Skid Row. I've been out here for almost 16 years, and Skid Row has gotten worse, and they're 99% Black. So what are you telling me? It's like, oh, the systemic. Okay, but the only time we come out is when a cop kills us, huh? We're not coming out for our own. So I've been something that came to me too. I'm like, no matter what, like, as much as people want to care, and I think most people do, no one's ever going to care about your shit as much as you. No one's going to care about, like, me as a Black man, or even just a man, as much as I do. Like, no, I'm not going to care as much about women issues as much as a woman is, no matter how much I want to, because I just don't get it. So, like, the fact that I feel like the messages, they have to change, or it out there has to change, when it's like, what are we doing? And why is that conversation just something so taboo, or quote unquote distraction, as you said earlier, that just are you distracting from the other issue? When it's like, what are you really trying to get? Like, what is, like, let's really start asking that question, because the anger, okay, I can give you some of that, but what are you really trying to get? Because those gangsters, those gangbangers, those kids who weren't allowed in schools back in the day, they're now basically, my buddy's Chicago PD officers, open drug market in the west side of Chicago, and the south side is just these little gangs that are doing hits on kids because they don't want to pay child support. That's where we are with our mentality.
Yeah.
Think about this. So what do we want then? Like, if that's what we're doing with the freedoms we have, what are we asking for?
Interesting, man. Hey, I'm learning from you. Why do I need to watch news? I can just talk to Chief, right?
Well, no, you gotta watch it. You gotta watch it up. You gotta know, like, I don't know. It just baffles me that, like, I was talking to this lady.
Okay.
You'll find this interesting, because, like, look, I like to talk to anybody and everything.
Okay.
And so this lady, she was probably 55, white lady, and this is just my experience, especially with older white liberal female liberals, right? They just know better than everyone. In my experience. And I'm talking to her, and we're going back and forth about a few things, and she was like, well, brought up a reason why people didn't like Hillary or something. I'm like, Hillary? I'm like, nah, this is a terrible person. I'm good. I didn't want anything to do with that. And she tried to use Donald Trump and the Central Park Five, and the article that he wrote. I was like, yeah. I was like, what about the hundreds of millions of dollars the Clintons stole from the island of Haiti and people starved to death? because it's like, so which Black lives matter to you? The ones, 5 of them that nothing happened to them because of his letter, or the country, multiple millions of people who we donated money to? Let's just get that right. It's not, they didn't take that money themselves. We gave them money to hang over there, and they stole it, and people died. And so that's why I'm like, damn, your outrage, not yours, but then outrage is fake, man. Because like, what? Like, what do you like? It has to look a certain way for you to be upset about it. For you to be like, you're gonna call that person out. These guys aren't your fucking teammates. Donald Trump's not my homie, but right now he makes more sense to help me put more money in my pocket so that I don't need to be beholden to anybody.
Yeah.
Hillary Clinton's not gonna come out and shake anyone's hand and walk with you. And no, to believe that of any of them is asinine. Take your power back.
Right.
Don't work for me, get the fuck out. And the thing that when I find you right, the thing that I got when she was like, I was talking, I was like, well, she's like, federal in the system. I go, okay, let me ask you this. And this is something I found out, and you can use this for anyone you talk to moving forward.
Here we go. Juicy information.
I ask anybody. And then mostly I find out the ones on the left have no idea. But I go, so who do we hire to run our city?
The mayor.
Oh, well, this person says, like older people, or I'm like, no, I keep asking her, who do we hire? She couldn't answer. I'm like, we hire a mayor. I'm like, so the city sucks, the mayor sucks. We have to get rid of the mayor, do something different. If the state sucks, the governor is what sucks. That's how this country was built. It's not Sweden, it's not England, it's not Germany, where it started from like top down. It starts from the bottom up. Literally, we the people starts out our Bill of Rights. So it's like, part of what I'm finding out is people are so turned up and angry because of what they've been shown over and over on TV. And what they've been buzzing on their phones, that they don't even understand your problem can be as easily fixed as fixing their front door, fixing the fucking shit right in your street, making sure that a mayor comes in that actually is going to do what they say they're going to, calling them out for their stuff, because that's where it is. Chicago's been run by the same group for 90 years. And what's that old phrase about insanity? We do the same thing over and over, expecting something different.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
And this lady turns to me and goes, "You think a Republican would do that?" And I was like, "Well, it's different, isn't it?" She's like, "You're crazy." And I'm like, "I'm crazy, but LA's been run by the same group of people for
ever."
Like, yeah, I mean, we spent $1.3 billion in the state on homelessness last year.
What?
And homelessness went up 20%. So where did that money go if homelessness went up 20%?
How is that even mathematically? What?
Yeah.
I'm learning from you. So I'm like, this is new information to me. So I'm like, what?
Yeah. And then so that's what I'm saying. It's like, if you think about this, man, if we're spending this much money and it's getting worse, that means somebody's stealing from you.
Okay. Yeah.
So who's stealing? Those are the questions that I want to know, because the money is there. And then what's we usually hear? We need to put more money into stuff.
Right.
We need to put more money into education. We need to put more money into it's like, wait a second. There's some practical fixes, because most people do it in their day-to-day life, because most people just don't have more money. So you have to make it work. But in this case, it's like, well, Gavin said more money, so it makes sense. You're like, what? No, slow down.
Like, I guess if he says we need it, then
yeah, it's like, I trust you. Like, you really trust that? Go down to South Central LA and ask it. Like, look around and see if you trust that the money's gonna work. Go down to Skid Row and see if you trust that. Shit, come up here to Balboa Park in North Hollywood, in the Valley, in Encino, and see if you trust that. Any underpass in most of Los Angeles, see if Garcetti's doing what he's supposed to do. It's like, we need to. We got it. Because the thing is, we can take our power back. Yeah. We can, and it needs to be. And we're hitting the point. I have 2 godsons, and one of the reasons why I'm just kind of over it is because on the other side of what they're offering, I don't want that world for them.
Yeah.
I really, I want them to be able to do who they want to do, be who they want to be. So.
Let's shift this a little bit, because I want to talk on why I reached out to you in the first place, because I did see that video. And so something I learned about you today is that you were incarcerated 5 times. And so on that video, in the middle of Vine in Hollywood, you're talking about how the reason why you're voting for Trump and not Biden. Biden is known for the crime bill,
Yeah.
mass incarceration. Back in he signed it in '94, and you're talking about how in on the video you said how Trump is actually getting people out of prison in
Yeah.
his First Step Act, and
Yeah.
you know, just exonerating and granting clemencies. You actually, I think tonight or tomorrow night rather, somebody speaking at the RNC who he
Yeah,
granted
yeah, that's right.
exoneration. Yeah.
He's giving them out like hotcakes.
So
Great.
for someone who's been personally affected by incarceration, I think, I mean, I'm putting two and two together. I think that's why you said that, right? In Hollywood.
Yeah.
So once again, people look at you and go, "You're in entertainment. You're colored. You're in LA. Why Trump over Biden?" So what if you can sum it into like a few minutes? Why him over there? Because some people can say some people are voting against rather than voting for this year, right?
Yeah, of course.
So for you, why are you voting for?
Again, I think it still comes down to who is going to allow you to be you more. And I really believe the ideology of the left is forcing people to have to think a certain way that is killing them. People are dead on the streets with this ideology. And so, like, from coming from people that have a track record of they decimated they decimated black community, man. Like the biggest problem we have is the fact that these fathers aren't in the homes. And like he's partly responsible for that. And to come out and say the things that he said, like you ain't black if you don't vote for me. You know, getting people confused because of the same color. It's just like I'm good, man. You know what I mean? Like I'm good. Like, but one of the things that I can honestly say what it would feel like as just a black man that in my experience in liberal like circles is that unless you were saying the narrative of I'm the victim as a black man, they didn't want to hear you. A lot of times, if you go too far, they want to get physical, and that's white dudes. And so it's like, wow, do you really want to hear what a black man has to say, or are you just saying you want to hear the version that you got comfortable with off the television, rap music, or whatever it is? It's like there are a lot of people with different stories. Like anytime I see like, I mean, they put out Joe Biden's black agenda. Like, why are we living in this racist ideology where it's like black people are different, and those who are black pushing that? It's like people are people, man. You know, people. Let me guess. You want to be able to provide for yourself and possibly a family. You want to do something you care about, and you want to be able to be safe. Tell me how that's different from any other culture. But it's a black agenda. Give people school choice. That's freedom. Give people opportunity. Give people safety. That's freedom. That's it.
And oh, I lost you there for half a second. No, you were fine. You're there. There we go. So it's funny. I make it a point that I don't edit anything. I'm not CNN, so I keep everything in, right? So whatever technical glitches we have, you can see my past videos. Whatever technical glitches we have, we keep it because I show it as is. So
yeah, I watched you and Major, man. That was awesome. Major's I met him at that video you saw. That's when I first met Major.
Yeah, yeah,
dude, it was like in talking to him and again as a black man thinking a certain way, living in Los Angeles in the industry, it's like as I see this man and we're talking and I'm just like, he's like, it's what I thought was best for my family. And I just keep thinking about it with my godsons who I'm fortunate enough that they live with me. Like, what matters? People that I barely know to care about, like, and what their judgment is, or these little boys having a space to grow up safely and shine as bright as they can. And I made my choice, you know.
Now, did you watch the RNC the first 2 days?
Bits and pieces. I didn't sit and watch too much of it, but like because I'm sappy, so like I did watch one part when it was like it was a former felon from bank robbery and FBI agent, and he was like, who would have thought one of my best friends would be a guy arrested, and the guy who's working with like this program where people former and felons are coming out, and I'm just like, because I know what his story, I'm like, I don't want to just sit there and be emotional the whole time, and it's like, because then also what I think is like, I want to grab like some people that I know and be like, look, tell me how this is evil. Please tell me how this is evil. And so like, I just kind of take a little space and then I watch it in bits because
It was
But
good. It was a good segment, that's for sure.
yeah, that
Um,
was a
I want to refer to the first night. We had Herschel Walker on there, who's known Trump for 37 years.
yeah,
I don't know if you saw that one,
yeah.
but
I did.
it was a 3 minute speech, and he said something that I want to ask you.
Mm,
He mentioned how he finds it insulting that people will call Trump a racist, knowing that he's friends with him. So that's basically saying that you're friends with a racist, like, and it offends him because he's like, well, you think that I would be friends with a racist? So
yeah,
for you, I guess you could say you're openly pro-Trump.
yeah.
You being openly pro-Trump, I'm sure friends come to you all the time. How could you do that? He's racist. So what's your response to that? Considering, okay, it's like, is it like, why would I vote for a racist, right?
Well, when I heard Herschel Walker say that, it made sense on why, in my experience over the last 3.5 years with people that I've known for a long time, why it hurt, as opposed to just being angry. Now it made sense. I'm like, whoa, that is offensive. And because I would always think, like, I probably lost like 2 or 3 friends over my support of the president. And it's like, you know me. Like, I volunteer my time back to kids, to homeless. Like, I'll be there for anyone if within my power. Like, they know me. And I'm not just saying that like I'm a great guy, not anything like that. It's like, you know me. And because politically we're seeing it differently from what you're being told, and you're not willing as well, because most of them I only want to hear. That's what I'm always getting. I don't want to hear that. More than anything else is hurt, because it's like what has cachet then? Like what I've found, and people close to me, family members, people I consider family. And on the contrast to that, I work for this traveling promotional team, and the husband and wife, they're Christian conservatives, sweet people. Where I grew up, evangelicals and Christian conservatives are automatically were racist and hate gays and blacks. That's what I was taught. That's what I was taught. And then I started working with these people, and it was beautiful. And then I slipped off and fell off the wagon and started drinking. Right, and made a fool of myself and almost lost my job. And these people, they called me up like the weekend later or the week later, and they were like, "So what do you want to do?" And they talked to me and they gave options, and they're like, "Yo, be there, whatever you need." And I was like, "Wow, thank you just for that." Moving forward, and God, by God's grace, like I haven't touched a drink since. And it's been a little bit over 4 years now. And the wife, my date is March 15th, but like on the 15th of every month for the last 4 years, she's either called or texted me on every month. And so, and when we first met, I would get at her about, like, she would come at me about Obama, like we were against, like we were on opposite sides of the political fence when we first met. And it wasn't because like I was like, yeah, I'm pro Trump, that she cared about me. It's because she cared about me. She cared about me. That was before any of this happened, that they, called me and asked me, what can we do to, how can we help you? And so what I noticed, and something that I've learned, is that like as much as it hurts, it's like what I've learned from being kind of on the, I guess, in the conservative camp or whatever, is that there's a lot of grace and there's a lot of peace there. And in my sobriety, and what I've learned is that I had to forgive myself, and like God has my back. So like I also now, when I see them in their way, it's a little more sad, because I'm like, man, you're not even like allowing yourself to be free to think, maybe just go explore for yourself. It's so trapping. Like, and you're on your own, because they're willing to cut off anyone's leg if they look funny to them, if they act funny, if they don't say the right word, or they or pronouns. They're waiting to get rid of you. That's not how I feel over here. I feel like there is a sense of community, and the community is we're Americans. And that's something that just, it's so much love and peace on that I found, that it's like, and support.
What you just said echoes a lot of people that I know who are considered walkaways. I don't know if you're familiar with the walkaway
Yeah,
camp,
yeah. Brandon
but
Strock, yeah.
yeah, what you just said mirrors a lot of what my friends say who walk away. Is just that on this side we're Americans, on this side you're this.
Yeah. It's crazy, man. And by the way, Herschel Walker's kid was at the event that I went to Saturday in Beverly Hills.
Oh,
And so,
interesting. Okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And so it was really cool because I got to meet him, and it was great because we ended up like behind the partition. There's like six of us, all black Trump, supporters, and another side is like Antifa or Black BLM, whatever. And there's this white lady with a microphone yelling at us about racism.
You know,
And I'm like,
what's interesting to me is that I have friends. I have friends on both sides. I
yeah,
have friends like you who were at the walkway rally. Now,
yeah,
mind you, it's a walkway rally. It's anybody.
yeah,
Yes, they're Trump supporters, but it's anybody.
yeah, of course,
The left, I saw some friends who posted stories about it because they were in the counter protest. They were part of the BLM counter protest. So they came,
yeah,
and the way they structured the rally was it was a pro-Trump rally.
yeah.
So it's crazy seeing it from both sides.
It
I know what it is. I know what it was.
yeah,
But
exactly. Well,
people
that's
on the other side, yeah.
no, that's why like I did a video on my personal page and on Chief and Americano on Instagram where it was like after the march just last weekend because I saw that I got a message from a good friend of mine 2 weeks ago. I was like, oh, so you're a Q guy now? I was like, what are you talking about? And I was like, uh-oh, they're going to start demonizing Q because they're associated with this march. And anyway, they're gonna and then try to scare people away from the march. Then John Oliver, Stephen Colbert, oh boy from the Daily Show, Trevor Noah, Bill Maher all did this like they believe in this, this, and this, and this, and this. Then articles, New York Times, Post, everyone's saying Q's underlining, the march against children or march for children, right? So I'm sitting there and I'm seeing, I'm like, this is gonna come. I know it. I know it's gonna come. And I had a friend of mine who used to be like my acting coach. He posted one thing on the story, which was like Q's underlining this or whatever, and I just texted him right there. Nope, like that's not true. And then later in the day, I saw he posted it. It's the same thing, and then it was like, don't believe this garbage. And I'm like, because it was like, that's like you're seeing somebody there seeing it. Like I'm posting live, like we got to stop believing these people that really don't care about us and just trying to scare us from knowing each other and really knowing what the other person's about. Like imagine that. Like that's really the only thing that they're stopping from the other side is really get to know who you hate because you'll be surprised. They're probably saying stuff that you can get along with. They're probably telling you things that you didn't know either because they only tell you, oh, 400 years and black people were just slaves, and that's like so none of the great shit that we did here in this country. And who's responsible for that if they're saying that we're never told anything? Weren't you just running the education system, Barack Obama? What the fuck? We can talk about Bass Reeves. We can talk about like so many other famous black individuals that had nothing that isn't just they aren't just slaves, or civil rights leaders. We can do that.
Man, I could talk to you all day about this.
Yeah, right. Because it's like, come on, man. Like that's not like people. I feel people don't get, man. Like history is dirty. History is like raw and rough. And like we've been lied to in this idea to think that it's supposed to be peachy and nice. And it's like, no, everybody who's here right now is because your ancestor killed off a bunch of other people or survived the killing off of a bunch of other people. And it's hard and it's tough. And now we're in a country that gives us, the people, not a handful, the power to decide how we work. And most people now want to give it up to the handful of people that don't care and live behind gates anyway. They don't care that shit's on the street and people are shooting up in like in parks where kids and everybody else walk. Like, what are we doing? Like what? I found out DCFS contributes to 86% of all the worldwide kids trafficking. Why isn't anyone talking about that? 86%? That means we are funding as taxpayers child trafficking.
Wow.
Right? And when I heard that shit, it was crazy because when I heard that shit, it was right on the corner of Vine and Hollywood last week. And these three girls, and I shit you not, man, it blew my mind. Somebody handed me the pamphlet. We're talking. Three girls comes up. They're like probably 13 to 14. They looked like miniature, like 50-year-olds who've been smoking their whole life. That's how beat up their skin looks. So you can imagine what they've been through. And then one girl's like, yo, y'all face tattoo. Y'all talk white girl. y'all talking about DCFS? We're like, yeah, about what's going on. She's like, oh, no, we know, we live it. I'm just like,
They lived it.
yeah, no, we live it.
Oh,
Because you're DCFS, you're there until you're 18, unless you're on the streets.
yeah.
If you don't have anybody. So it's like, wow, man, it's happening under our nose. And again, I always go back to, if we don't care about kids first, because kids are like, that's universal. Everybody wants to protect the babies, right? In their own little circle. But I'm saying if it's not like culturally talked about in that way, something's wrong, but they don't want it that way because that unifies everyone. That's not just a Republican or a Democrat thing. That's not like a left or right thing. That's just a human thing. Why are we not talking about 800,000 a year, conservatively speaking? 800,000. Fuck. Sorry to curse. Can we not curse?
Oh no. Do you? I don't like to censor. That's another thing. I don't like to edit. I don't like to censor because
There you go.
yeah. So
because people are people, man, and
hey, society censors us already, right?
yeah, I know, man. I call it the stinky complex, right? I'm like, remember when like you growing up with your family and you're a little baby, and if somebody farts, everyone laughs. Like, look at he's so cute now. And dad farts, is like, Dad, you suck. And then you go to kindergarten, and the first kid that farts in front of everybody, somebody yells, you're stinky. And then from then on, that kid's stinky all the way through high school, all because he thought it was comfortable to be himself. And so then everyone tenses the fuck up and no one wants to be themselves. And we all start wearing this mask. It's like the stinky complex, I like to say. So hopefully people.
That was a good throwback. Now I'm thinking back to elementary school. Thanks.
Be like, shit. I used to like those shoes, but then some kid made fun of me. That's all it takes. Just one. It's just one. And all of a sudden, everybody's just dressing the same, looking like the Kardashians and shit. And I'm like, what? It's crazy.
There's one more thing I want to ask you because you mentioned it earlier. Speaking of history, I mean, I want to get your opinion on this because right now statues are being torn down. Some people think, hey, it's history. We should keep it because we got to learn from it, right? We shouldn't hide from it. So what's your perspective on it? Because some people want to hide it. Some people do want to take it down. Some people are like, hey, let's preserve this because we want people to learn from what happened in the past. So what's your take?
So my take is like this, because most of the issues I think we have is all about terrible framing. And that argument is terribly framed. Because I just asked you this, what country has the losing armies memorabilia around their country? Yeah. They could get back to me. So if you frame it in that way, then it doesn't become a race issue. It becomes an American issue. And there you go. And then it doesn't, but keeping it a race issue, then you go, now it's like, as Americans, I think no one likes to be told what to do inherently, right? So now it's like, I'm taking it down because it hurts me. It's like, nah, I'm keeping it up because that's my history. And it's like, they lost the war, man. Like no, put them in a museum. But look at it from that standpoint, because I don't think it's a race thing. It's used as a race thing in order to keep us separate. But the truth is, there's no country in history of the war. They used to chop off limbs of the statues of the people they conquered because they're like, nah, we're disrespecting them. So like, if we look at it from that standpoint, then we go, oh, all right, we can put it in the museums, but they can't just be hanging out like outside the courthouse. That's crazy. They lost, man. Or unless they didn't, that's a whole different question.
Ooh, good one. You never know.
You know what I mean? Like, why has it stayed up there for so long? And so then I go, the final thing is like, and how people are doing it. It's like, if we accept the chaos of, I'm upset because somebody told me a story about why I should be upset for this thing, let's go rip it down. If that's the way we're going to do it, that's literally mob mentality. And that has literally led to the thousands and thousands of lynchings of Black men throughout this country's history. So you're not going to tell me because you're mad that's okay now. Nah, it plays in the same bubble, man. If you can get mad enough just to go burn some shit down and saying that's how we get it done, we're that people ain't ready for that chaos, man. They ain't ready for that chaos.
Actually, people are going around right now, like restaurant to restaurant, make sure you raise your fist, and if you don't, they're gonna get on you.
I know. I saw some videos, and I'm like, one thing that I really believe, it's like the left ideology is anti-First and Second Amendment, and it's a lot of groupthink. And I said this as a Bernie supporter. I go, that's what they're teaching you is right. The on the right conservatives, they're pro First Amendment, but more importantly, pro Second. A lot of them are former military and police, current or former. A lot of them tend to keep themselves in a physical shape. A lot of them like to be physical. On the left, they teach you violence is just inherently bad, toxic masculinity. So when it comes down to really, really somebody pushing back, like they're setting you up for disaster in the long run. Because right now people are just like, yo, that's not me. I'm not trying. And then bad shit's happening. And I hate to even want to go there, but it's like, look, if push truly comes to shove, the ideology of the left has left those people behind and in a bad place. Most of them don't have weapons. Most of them are out of shape. Most of them don't know how to really be physical. So it's like let's slow down because we got to live together.
Yeah.
Because that wipeout idea, like it won't be them doing it. And that's the sad truth.
Right.
And we gotta live together, man. And they just want to separate. Why is everything on the right inherently evil? That's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I was taught in middle school too by friends. Just that, ooh, Chick-fil-A.
That's
canceled.
Spicy Deluxe, brother.
You're canceled.
Yeah.
You ate Chick-fil-A. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
But check this out, man.
I hate gays. No.
So check this out. So last week I watched the DNC. This week I'm trying to watch RNC. So the RNC is kicking off right now. So I do want to do a follow up with you because there's so many questions. There's so many things I want to talk to you about.
Yeah, I'm down, man.
But the convention is starting right now. I do want to keep. I do want to make it a point to watch. I watched it last week and I'm watching it this week. So I do want to watch the RNC.
And I'm impressed that you stayed up for last week because the stuff I saw was kind of boring. So
well, we can talk about that off camera. But but before we go, let's get your social. I told them what it is, but what's your socials?
Yeah, so you can follow me on Chief_the_Americano on Twitter or Instagram. You can also find us on Chief_the_Americano on YouTube. We got our first episode dropping tonight.
Heck yeah.
We also have some other videos of interviews that I've done and that we've been around. And then you can also follow me Siaka_Massaquoi at Instagram. That's mostly for entertainment purposes and stuff like that. But,
very good, man.
Yeah, man.
It's actually very interesting. I'm glad you replied to me because here's why. I've told this to several past interviewees, but I ask everybody from across the spectrum for an interview. So I've had one independent, I've had one liberal, then I have like 10 Republicans, 10 black Republicans. Wow. And I think, so here's the thing, and I think the reason why that a lot of you are saying yes to an interview is because you want to reframe how people look at the party. Because I mean, obviously in the mainstream sense, it's evil, evil, evil. But
not just also reframe it in that way, but also like reframe the image of like how people look at black people too. We're not a monolith, man. Like everything they talk about, like you said, it's all in these different groups and boxes. But like, no, there's some things I agree with, some things I don't, because I am me. And then all these other things come on there. So it's like part of it is like, stop saying racism when you're seeing these motherfuckers support them and ask the fucking question why. That's the difference. The difference is I'm going to ask you why and you won't have a real answer because there isn't one. And they're afraid to ask why because they need to be right. What arrogant shit is that? Just ask why. You might be really surprised. Most likely you'll be really surprised.
I think that segment right there, what you just said with all those F-bombs and S-bombs, I'm going to use that for my story, for that 15-second story. I'm going to use that.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead, man. That's good. That's good. I like that. That's funny. Wow. Yeah, bro, we tag both of them on there. Tag me on both sides. I love it.
We definitely got to do a follow-up interview, man. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Siaka, for doing this with me. We'll do more.
Thank you for having me. Yes, I love it. Hey guys, go ask questions, meet people. It's worth it.
My man, take care, Ben. Take care. God bless. Yeah.
You too, brother. Bye.